What is it you want, Barry? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
The sensitive high school quarterback who became commander-in-chief of his own army. He would later say of the war, it was awesome, but also, it wasn't.
What's the deal with bananas? I mean, they got orange juice, you got apple juice. Where's the banana juice?
I never thought of that.
Top news stories of the week. Time to find out once again with Megan Olson and News of the Week on The Al Travis Show.
Love having her on. Megan and her News of the Week. Megan, how are you today?
I'm good. I mean, we had a huge news day yesterday, so I'm just getting all caught up.
See, this is what's so fantastic in my line of work. So we've been running along. It's been pretty much gravy. When's the last week we said nothing happened? You know, there's shootings. I mean, it's just been constant. Then in the last week to 10 days, desert. I mean, once we got done with the last fraud thing, that the housing thing 10 days ago, whatever it was, it's been kind of dead. And now this is the talker for the next, this is going to change. This could change Minnesota. I'm sorry, I don't want to steal it. You jump in, but this is big.
Huge court opinion coming out of yesterday. It was a judge, a Ramsey County district judge, striking down a 2024 law that bans binary trigger devices, which sounds like, oh, why is that such a big deal? I mean, whatever, you know, it's the courts, things happen. But the way that this judge did it is basically saying that because this binary trigger ban was a part of this massive omnibus bill that had paid family leave, all the things that really had no relation to one another, all smushed all together, passed in 2024. He's saying that that violates the Minnesota Constitution. We have a provision in there that says no law shall embrace more than one subject, which shall be expressed in its title. So to me, this is like way bigger than just a binary trigger ban. I mean, this is everything the state government has ever done.
We just had Heather Gustafson on the program, Senator Gustafson. I got to be Senator Gustafson. And it was her bill, the trigger ban. She's not thrilled with this, by the way, but because she didn't plan that to be in the omnibus bill. She had it on the standalone, but then you're in charge of everything. You throw it all together. So she's not thrilled with it. But what I don't get, and let's just bust it out in little bits. So the judge gets asked by, it was a gun rights group. I don't have it
Minnesota
on the top
Gun Owners Caucus, I believe.
You are so good. And they went to the Upper Midwest Law Center. By the way, they're coming on tomorrow, just a little promo. We're going to ask them this question. But they get paid to, you know, let's go, we think this is unlawful. And they use this omnibus reasoning, and the judge agrees. So trigger ban isn't there. How is it that that whole bill isn't knocked out of the water?
That's where things get a little hairy. It's because the judge expressed judicial restraint. So he didn't invalidate the entire 1,400-page bill. He just struck down this one provision. So he kind of held back a little bit. But some really good reporting out of the Star Tribune also showed that back in 2000, a retired Supreme Court justice became a critic of omnibus bills. He wrote an agreeing opinion in 2000 that said severing unconstitutional pieces from a law isn't enough of a deterrent for legislators. So basically saying, you know, if you're just taking out one piece but using this portion of Minnesota Constitution without taking it further, you know, what are you really doing here? So this judge back in 2000 really wanted to kind of make a splash. That didn't happen. This other judge now, Judge Castro, had an opportunity, but kind of held back a little bit through judicial restraint, it's called.
If you go with this judge, though, and say, okay, this is the one that they asked me about, I think it's, then you're asking every single group who thinks that doesn't work in that omnibus bill, and I'm throwing out $80,000, I don't know, maybe it's $80,000 they get your lawsuit won. Come up with $80,000, go to court and go right to the same guy and say, hey, ours is about wheelchairs in grocery stores. It had nothing to do with the tax bill. You're right. That's got to be, I mean, we could be creating a massive juggernaut of lawsuits, which in reality, and I guess I'm going to ask you, let's just hypothetically say the Al Travis Show says, I read that same thing. This is how bills are supposed to go in Minnesota. I believe for the last 30 years, and this is not Republican, everybody's been doing this omnibus bill thing. I want to stop it. I think it's against my constitution. It's against the laws of Minnesota. do I even have standing? Can I get everything? I don't. Can I
And
do
that's
that?
where it's a little bit weird to me because so in 2024, they passed all of these sweeping legislative
Yep.
acts, whatever, all in one big omnibus bill. Versus in years past, they do have it kind of parceled down by this is the tax bill, this is the transportation bill, this is the housing bill. 2024 was weird because they were kind of scrambling at the last minute. A lot of things were happening. They just smushed it all into one. I mean, the Constitution is very clear that it has to be all under one similar umbrella, like a tax bill,
Yeah.
a housing
Yeah.
bill, all that. This was something where you've got paid family leave, you've got Uber, Lyft wages, you've got
Yeah.
the trigger ban. Like, what is the common thread there? So I think, I mean, it could unravel other things, but definitely not, I mean, omnibus bills as a whole. Those aren't inherently unconstitutional.
And folks like, is this really this
I'm
big
not a
story?
legal expert, though.
No,
Sorry. Big
this
disclaimer.
no, you're brilliant, and this is why this is such a huge story. Let's just say the folks that have done this now for the last 30 years, are they nervous? All of those laws are just going to start getting spit fired back out as long as everybody can come up with their 80K to take it through the process. And if they are, do they clean up their act?
Well,
Next
and-
session, will it be this bill, this bill, this? We know that we're going to lose this on omnibus tech.
The binary trigger ban being, pulled out of this as being ruled unconstitutional, this isn't over yet. The Governor
Cool.
Walz team has come out and said, we're going to be appealing this ruling. It's going to go even further. So I think until the dust settles on this particular issue after these appeals, I'm assuming it's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, just like something did back in 2000. We'll see something similar. I'm sure it'll be the same outcome, but this is far from over, and I don't think it's going to impact how the legislature does its duties next year.
See,
Not yet, anyway.
Oh, I love your naivete. That's French for naive. I don't know. If this gets to the Supreme Court, which it should, like say, we're gonna go this. This could blow up everything these guys have been doing for years, because it's pretty easy to read that rule, that law, and says one topic, one thing, and it should have a header that makes sense, right? And it's not a complicated thing. And like you say, trigger bans, paid family leave, what anything these have in common? They don't. And if the Supreme Court comes out, that's when this whole thing goes. None of it's good. It was
Well,
a
we
bad
know
bill.
the courts are slow too, so I don't see this kind of being resolved before 2026 session, but it could be resolved before 2027. And then at that point, we would have had a pretty consequential election, I would think, 2026. Things could flip around where if you're the Democrats, you're probably thinking we really have to keep this majority that we have, because if we do end up having to
Good point.
backtrack on all these policies, well, now we have to repass them in the correct way, in their correct buckets of omnibus bills. So they're probably really gearing up for 2026 to be a battle because they've got to get this done. It's questionable.
And they should be scared as all get out if they have to bust those bills down and vote each one at a time. I use this with Senator Gustafson. I don't like being played like the fool. Whether you liked the Office of Independent General bill, which she sponsored, and I loved it. We're on different sides. I loved it. I want it tomorrow. To come out of that whole thing and be done and find out that every Democratic representative can say, I didn't vote against it. I voted against not voting for it. What am I, a flippin' fool? You know what I'm saying? I didn't vote against the bill. I just voted I didn't want to vote for the bill.
Yeah.
That's kind of the gameplay. And then when you do this with everything stands up, I don't know where I stand on binary triggers. This is not something I've studied. I'm a gun guy. I don't have a
It
clue.
came out of the Burnsville shootings, the
Yes.
Burnsville police officer shooting. That's kind of where all of this conversation came from.
But I was big on our straw thing. Make it more expensive if you're going to buy a gun, a bigger penalty for buying guns for somebody else. I want them all to stand alone. You know what? Just as somebody said no to the binary or yes binary, it's not the one thing I'm going to vote for someone on, but it's another thing. And I can look at each of those things and say, you voted against voting for an office of inspector. I want to know those things. Don't put it all one big bill. I think this is
that's
changing
why
everything.
it's hard, because there could be really good provisions in a big omnibus bill and there could be really bad ones. And so when you're a state legislator and you're weighing the pros and cons, you're like, oh, this provision gets money for my district, but this
Eggs.
one, like, I know all my constituents would really hate. How do you weigh that? I'm also a big fan of single subject. I just think
Yep.
it's more pure that way, but it's also really slow. So I get why
But
They
slow
just
is
did
good
not.
in government. Slow is darn good. You know what's fast in government? When we decide we're going to help people in the housing world find housing, we're going to send all this money and send it out. You know what happens? It all goes to the wrong people because we didn't take the time to figure it out.
Because we didn't
We
have
gotta-
an office of inspector general.
But we voted on whether we should vote for that, and I voted no. We'll be back after this and more. Megan got me riled. This is going to be huge. This is going to be huge for Minnesota. Mark today. It's August 19th. We'll be back after this.
One-sided media and divisive noise drowning out your conservative values? Take back the conversation with Braver Angels. Join a grassroots movement to restore civility and find common ground without compromising your principles. As a conservative, your voice matters. Share your perspective on issues like immigration and public health in Red Blue workshops and help rebuild trust in our great nation. Be a leader in depolarizing America. Sign up for free at mn.braverangels.org. Braver Angels, where conservatives, liberals, and independents unite for a stronger republic.
Step into a world where magic and merriment come alive. Discover fantastical creatures, behold thrilling jousts, and meet your favorite characters of old. From rib-tickling gestures to spellbinding performances, the adventure never ends. Make memories that will last through the ages at the most magical village on earth, the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. Plan your visit today at renaissancefest.com. Huzzah!
A as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
We've got her, Megan, with Megan's News and Review. So, we both agree that the entire world changed yesterday, and that's exciting news. What else do we have? Anything going to keep up with that?
We've talked a lot about Governor Walz on this show. You know, is he going to run again? Is he not? Obviously, we had the shootings earlier this year that really changed the political landscape, gave a lot of people some pause, Governor Walz included. Now we're kind of hearing that he's really wavering on this third term. I mean, he keeps pushing past these self-imposed deadlines of, oh, I'll announce by this time. Oh, now this time. And folks are kind of questioning what's happening. And so I think the DFL internally, there's a lot of conversations, you know, who's going to step up to the plate. Attorney General Keith Ellison's name is being tossed around, Secretary of State Steve Simon, Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy. There kind of was chatter that Governor Walz did want to run again. And now that his lieutenant governor is running for U.S. Senate, he wanted to run with Melissa Hortman. Unfortunately, with her political assassination not possible, I think that really shook him up. And now we're at a point where we don't really have any top contenders from the DFL for 2026.
I have been told I can share this thought, so I'm going to. I've been playing checkers with this, and the Democrats are playing chess. The checker version of this is a lot went on. He really would have liked to have been governor again. He would have liked to have been vice president. That didn't work. You got to kind of lick your wounds. Maybe I'll be governor. I like governor. Or can I win this thing? And he worked through that. And then the shooting, like you say, the person who wanted as lieutenant governor isn't there. And I'm giving him the credit. Okay, it's just tough times right now. But that's the checkers version. The chess version is quite possibly a very big political figure hasn't decided she wants to play along. Let's just play this game out. Governor Walz says, I'm out. Can't do it. Just my heart's not in it. I wanted Hortman, and you get the okay. Let's just say there's a sitting senator, Klobuchar, that says, I'll jump in. She'd win, right? I mean, is anybody going to beat Klobuchar in the state of Minnesota for anything?
Yeah.
So she wins. And she says, you know what?
We've got an open seat.
Got an open seat. I must find someone I could put in that seat. What are you doing, Governor Walz? Would you like to be the sitting senator for the next 2 years?
A little flip-flop here.
I think this is chess played magnificently, except for the idea that I think it will tee people off. If this is the game plan, because then what happens? Walz says, I'm going to help you raise money, because he's already said, I can raise money. Don't worry. We'll, because Klobuchar has yet even inkled she wanted this bad boy. You come in and do this. Now you're governor. You have a governor and senator on your name if you want to run for president. I got governor and senator on my name after running for governor. You know what else helps? 2 years in, he's got the Senate run for 2 years. He doesn't have to run again if he doesn't want to. He can go for president. It lines up. His current problem, he couldn't run for this Senate seat. It didn't line up for the presidency. This is chess playing if this is what's going on.
The interesting thing here is typically the DFL, I mean, we know the MNGOP, they're in disarray. I mean, they've got candidates here, there, they have endorsement battles and primaries and all the things. The DFL really has done a good job of coming forward as a united front. I think this could shake things up in a very unique way because we already have the drama of the Minneapolis DFL convention, the mayor. They're dealing with that. Obviously, that's like their biggest population area here in Minnesota. But I think with that background and then also this kind of political, let's just do a little handshake flip-flop here, I think it's going to piss a lot of people in the DFL off because you've got some big names that are really wanting to elevate themselves and get involved. I think even Mayor Melvin Carter of St. Paul, who he has a challenger now, his team has come out and said, oh, he's talked about maybe running for governor. You have all these kind of new not new, but DFL names that are lower on the totem pole that want this opportunity. And I'm not sure how well it's going to be received if this kind of very messy politicking is happening.
The checkers version of me, because I'm looking at all the senators and all the representatives on the Democratic side that could run, all had to vote for a lot of this stuff that the fraud's been happening. They've had to vote for a lot of weird things that they'd have to stand up for. Not saying they couldn't win with it, but they'd have to do that. Except for Ellison and Simon, right? They didn't vote on this stuff. They've got nothing else and might have a problem with that. There's a lot of fraud going on. You don't see them going after a lot of people. He might have an issue. But these are two people I thought, I'm playing checkers. They make sense to move up into that shot. But if they find out Klobuchar and the governor worked out a deal, I think not only do they get ticked, but you tell me if you're good standing Democrat, you're not going to say, what? What? You didn't feel you could win again a third term, so you have your buddy take that term and give you a Senate seat?
Because
I think this could be huge.
Walz wanted to run for Senate. There were kind of rumors of like this Walz Flanagan after Walz returned from running for president, that failed bid. There was some tension maybe. We've heard about that. It's been kind of, brushed off of people's backs. They're like, oh, everything's fine. But I think there's a lot more to it. I think Walz did want to run for U.S. Senate. I think Peggy Flanagan, Lieutenant Governor, was very firm in wanting to run too, so he let her. But he still wants the Senate. He's still got eyes on the Senate. And Klobuchar, like you said, I mean, I think over her entire tenure, every year has won the most bipartisan senator award. I think she's a great candidate for the DFL to put forward as governor. It's just, it's messy politically.
I'll tell you what, and then she turns around and nominates that man, that would be a big chink in her armor, in my opinion. You go find somebody, but it's got to be somebody new. We got to fly. I'm out of time. That's the checkers and chess that's going on, folks. Listen to this program on the 19th today with Megan's News and Review and see if we're not right 6 months from now. Appreciate you, Megan.
Absolutely. We'll be back breaking down all the, who's running for what and all the binary trigger bans and court cases on the Al Travis Show with Megan's News and Review.